9 awkward things seniors do as they age that no one talks about. Aging doesn't just bring wisdom, it comes with a few quirks we don't always talk about. Ever find yourself talking to the TV like it's a real person, or maybe having entire conversations with yourself when no one else is around? Don't worry, you're not alone in this. It might sound funny, but these awkward moments are totally normal. In fact, we've all experienced them, and we probably don't even realize how common they are. But have you ever stopped to wonder, why does this happen? Why do we suddenly catch ourselves doing these strange things as we get older? Are we losing our minds, or is there more to it? If you've ever found yourself doing something that made you pause and think, I don't remember doing this when I was younger, stick around. We're diving into the 9 awkward things seniors do as they age. And trust me, by the end of this, you might just see yourself in a whole new light. But first, let's meet Frank. Frank's 72 years old, a retired school teacher and a pretty sharp guy. But recently he's been noticing a few habits creeping in that weren't there a few years ago. For instance, talking to his TV like it's a real person. Yes, he's been caught giving the evening news anchor a piece of his mind. And that's just the beginning. Now, if you're like Frank, or if you've noticed a few of these quirks yourself, hit that like button and subscribe because you don't want to miss the rest of this video. You'll want to hear about what's really going on with these moments. And trust me, you'll find out it's not as awkward as it seems. So, let's dive in and explore the 9 awkward things seniors do as they age, starting with one you might find really familiar. Talking to yourself and sometimes answering back. You've probably done it without realizing it. Talking to yourself in the middle of making breakfast, or maybe even having a full-blown conversation with yourself while folding laundry. It can seem a little awkward, right? But guess what? This is actually a completely normal part of aging. Frank, our 72-year-old friend, has found himself doing this more often. One morning, while scrambling eggs, he muttered aloud, "Now, did I turn the stove off last night? I'm sure I did, but just to be safe, I'll check again." And then, just as quickly, he answered himself, "Nope, definitely off." It's like his brain is holding an entire meeting inside his head without him even realizing it. Why does this happen? As we age, the brain stays active, but some functions, like memory retrieval and processing, can slow down a little. It's not a sign of forgetfulness, it's more about our brain staying engaged with everything around us. Talking to yourself, whether it's questioning something or answering back, can help reinforce your thoughts and keep your brain sharp. It's your brain's way of staying active and processing things. You may not even realize it, but this inner dialogue actually has some pretty big benefits. It can help you remember things, stay focused, and even make decisions more effectively. But if you've ever caught yourself mid-sentence or had a mini conversation about whether you locked the door or forgot your keys, again, it might leave you feeling a little self-conscious. But don't worry, this is more common than you might think, and it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Frank's wife, for example, has started to notice Frank's new talking habit and always laughs when she hears him muttering to himself while looking for his glasses. "Frank, you're talking to the couch again," she teases. Frank laughs it off, but deep down it makes him feel a bit, well, awkward. Is this normal? The truth is, this inner dialogue or self-talk is something that can help you process daily tasks and stay mentally sharp. It's just another way for your brain to keep things moving. In fact, studies have shown that people who engage in self-talk have better memory recall and make fewer mistakes in their daily lives. So, while Frank's conversations with himself might seem funny, they're actually helping him stay alert and focused. But what if you've caught yourself doing this and felt embarrassed or concerned? Here's the key: don't worry. This is a sign that your brain is still actively engaged in the world around you. It's your brain's way of staying connected to your thoughts and environment. If anything, this is a positive sign that you're staying alert. If you've caught yourself talking to yourself, whether it's to double-check if you left the stove on or simply to sort through your thoughts, you're definitely not alone. In fact, this inner dialogue is one of those quirks of aging that can help keep your mind sharp and focused. Have you experienced this? Are you someone who finds yourself chatting with the air while you go about your day? Or maybe you've noticed it in a loved one. Let us know in the comments below. I bet you'll find you're in great company. But what happens when this turns into something else? Stay tuned, because in the next section we'll talk about something that might even surprise you. A habit that's common but no one likes to talk about. Forgetting why you walked into a room. We've all been there, standing in the middle of a room, looking around with a puzzled expression and wondering, what did I come in here for? It's one of those classic moments that, while frustrating, is part of the aging process, and honestly, it happens to the best of us. Frank, our friend from earlier, is no stranger to this particular experience. One day, he walked into the kitchen, intending to grab the milk from the fridge, but as soon as he stood there, he found himself staring at the counter, completely forgetting why he came in. He stood there for a full minute, only to finally leave the room, milkless, before realizing, oh, right. So, he retraced his steps, walked back into the kitchen and grabbed what he needed. Does that sound familiar? Frank is not alone, and neither are you. This kind of forgetfulness is something that many seniors experience, and it's often chalked up to aging. But what's actually going on inside the brain to cause these moments, the science behind it? As we age, our brains continue to work hard, but some functions, like memory recall and information processing, can slow down just a little. The hippocampus, which plays a major role in memory and learning, doesn't always work as efficiently as it did when we were younger. When this happens, the brain might have difficulty retrieving information quickly. This means that when you walk into a room, you might need a moment to connect what you're doing with why you're there. It's almost like your brain needs to reset to access the right files. And it's not just about memory, it's about processing the constant flow of information we take in every day. Our brains are busy juggling multiple tasks, and sometimes a little slip happens. The trick is not to get too stressed about it. These "what did I come in here for" moments are actually quite normal and are usually temporary. Frank found that a great way to combat this was to slow down and focus on what he needed to do. Instead of rushing in, he'd stop and say, "Okay, I'm getting milk." "I'm getting milk" sounds simple, right? But this little trick helps his brain latch onto the task and strengthens memory. Over time, this small practice helped him feel a little less frustrated when these moments popped up. If you've experienced this yourself, don't worry. It doesn't mean something is seriously wrong. It's just part of the process as we age. Our brains are constantly working, but they need a little more time to access and process information. Sometimes it's simply a matter of getting older and being more aware of how we're managing all the little details of life. It's important to remember that these moments aren't a sign of a bigger problem. They're just a sign of your brain slowing down in some areas. And while it's perfectly normal, there are a few things you can do to help keep your mind sharp and active. Tips for tackling forgetfulness. Take a moment to pause. Before entering a room, remind yourself of your goal. A small mental note can help your brain access the information more quickly. Stay organized. Make lists or use sticky notes to remind you of important tasks. This can help your brain stay on track and reduce frustration. Practice mindfulness. Simply focusing on the present moment can help reduce the mental clutter that often causes forgetfulness. The good news is, even though these memory lapses are more common as we age, they're also usually temporary. So, if you found yourself standing in a room, wondering why you walked in, don't worry. It's just your brain doing what it's supposed to do. Have you ever had one of those "what did I come in here for" moments? You're not alone. Share your experience in the comments below. We'd love to hear how you handle it, and don't go anywhere, because coming up next is something that's a little more tricky. It's something we all do, but no one really warns you about it. Stay tuned for the next awkward habit you need to know about. We've all been there. You're at the checkout counter bagging your groceries or paying for your items when you suddenly notice a line forming behind you. You hear the soft sighs of impatience, the shuffle of feet, and feel the pressure of those eyes on your back. Frank, our 72-year-old friend, had this experience just last week at his local grocery store. He was taking his time, making sure he had the right change, checking his coupons and double-checking his receipt, when suddenly he noticed a teenage customer behind him. The teenager's eyes were wide, and he was shifting from foot to foot, clearly growing impatient. Frank caught a glimpse of his watch, and it hit him. He was holding up the line, and the teenager behind him was about to explode. With a nervous chuckle, Frank turned to the young man. "Sorry, I'm just making sure I've got everything right. These coupons aren't as easy to figure out as they used to be." The teenager smiled awkwardly and said, "No problem, take your time." But Frank could tell it wasn't no problem for the kid. But why does this happen so often? Why do seniors, especially those like Frank, seem to take longer at checkout, double-checking everything with such care? Is it about slow reflexes or maybe getting distracted? Not really. It's actually about something deeper: mindfulness and frugality. As we age, we often find ourselves prioritizing quality and precision over speed, especially when it comes to our finances. Many seniors, including Frank, have lived through times where saving every penny mattered, where checking the change, using a coupon, or making sure every item was scanned correctly was a matter of importance. Frank grew up during a time when people didn't rush through things. They took their time to ensure they were getting the best deal and being careful with their money. This habit is rooted in a desire to be thorough and mindful rather than rushed or careless. For Frank and many seniors, it's not just about finishing the task, it's about doing it right, whether it's taking extra care to count change, making sure that coupon is applied, or simply double-checking the bill. The act of slowing down isn't a sign of forgetfulness. It's an intentional choice to prioritize accuracy and avoid any mistakes. It's also a bit of nostalgia. As we age, many of us have lived through a time when every penny counted and wasting money felt like a luxury we couldn't afford. These small habits are comforting reminders of times when being cautious was necessary for survival, and it's become second nature to take that extra moment. While the mindfulness approach works great for us, it doesn't always work as well for those around us, especially in a fast-paced world. Take the teenager behind Frank. While Frank was focused on getting his coupons just right, the teenager was just hoping to get in and out of the store quickly. The key here is balance. There's nothing wrong with taking your time, but being aware of your surroundings can help reduce that pressure feeling. Here are some tips for handling these moments with grace. Be aware of the line. If you're spending extra time looking for coupons or sorting through change, try to be mindful of how long it's taking. A simple "sorry about that, I'll be finished in just a second" can go a long way in easing the tension. Use digital coupons or apps. If you find yourself struggling with paper coupons, consider using a store's app or digital discounts to save time and streamline your checkout process. Prepare before you reach the counter. Have your payment method ready to go, whether it's cash, card, or a phone app, so you're not scrambling to figure it out when you're up at the register. For Frank, realizing that the younger generations may not fully understand his slower, more methodical approach to shopping was a bit of an eye-opener. But, like many seniors, he doesn't mind taking the time he needs to make sure things are done properly. The key, though, is being aware of the environment and responding with kindness. Have you ever found yourself holding up the line at checkout simply because you're double-checking your change or coupon? Let us know in the comments below if you've been in Frank's shoes, or if you've been the one waiting behind someone taking a little extra time. We all have a little patience to work on. But coming up next is a habit that you may find a bit more surprising, one that can often leave us feeling more than a little self-conscious. We've all been there, standing in line at the pharmacy or chatting with a neighbour, and before we know it, we've shared a personal story in full detail. For Frank, this moment came last week when he was picking up his prescription at the pharmacy. The line was long, and as he waited, he struck up a conversation with a friendly stranger next to him. The chat started innocently enough, but by the time they reached the counter, Frank found himself telling the stranger all about his recent knee surgery, what happened, how he felt, the recovery process, and every little detail in between. He didn't mean to overshare, but somehow the words just flowed out. The stranger smiled politely, but Frank could tell she was trying to figure out how to exit the conversation. After all, most people don't expect to hear about knee surgeries at the pharmacy counter. As we age, many of us experience a natural reduction in our social filters. What does that mean? Simply put, as we get older, we often feel less concerned about what others think and more focused on expressing ourselves. This can lead to moments where we unintentionally overshare. Frank's knee surgery story wasn't meant to overwhelm or discomfort the stranger. In fact, it came from a deep human need for connection. As we age, we often become more reflective and have a stronger desire to share our life experiences. Frank had been through a lot with his surgery, and talking about it was a way of processing what he went through. In his mind, he wanted to connect, to share his journey, and maybe even offer a little wisdom from his experience. But what Frank didn't realize is that sometimes this need for connection can make others uncomfortable, especially when they're not expecting such intimate details. It's important to remember that not everyone is ready for a full personal history, and while our stories are valuable, we also need to be mindful of how much we share and when. Gauge the situation. Is the person you're talking to receptive to a longer conversation, or are they just making small talk? If it feels like they're trying to wrap things up, it might be time to pull back. Keep it light. It's fine to share stories, but try to keep them shorter and less detailed, especially when you're talking to strangers. A brief mention of your experience, like, "I just had knee surgery recently, but I'm doing much better now," can be enough without going into the full saga. Use humor or context. If you do find yourself oversharing, try to lighten the mood with humor. A simple, "Well, I'm sure that's more than you needed to know," can show self-awareness and make the other person feel more at ease. Have you ever found yourself sharing a bit too much with a stranger or even a friend? It's something that happens to a lot of us as we age, and it's totally normal to want to connect on a deeper level. Let us know in the comments how you handle these moments. But stay tuned, because in the next chapter we're talking about a habit that can be just as awkward. And it might surprise you. You know the feeling you're trying to use a new gadget, and suddenly it's not working the way you expect. The screen freezes, the Wi-Fi is spotty, or an app just won't load. Instead of admitting we're a little confused, the natural instinct is often to blame the device. "This phone is acting weird," we mutter, as if the phone suddenly decided to stop cooperating. Frank recently had one of these moments. He was sitting in his living room trying to connect to the Wi-Fi on his tablet, but for some reason it wasn't working. After restarting the device a few times and adjusting every setting he could think of, he threw up his hands in frustration. "This thing just won't cooperate," he complained to no one in particular. Finally, after a few deep breaths, he picked up his phone and called his grandson Jake, who's always the go-to tech support. "Jake, this tablet's not connecting to the Wi-Fi. Can you come fix it?" he asked. Jake, a little puzzled but always helpful, walked Frank through a few troubleshooting steps. After a few minutes, Jake asked, "Grandpa, did you check if the router is plugged in?" Frank froze. "What do you mean, plugged in?" Sure enough, Frank had been trying to connect to Wi-Fi, but the router had somehow been unplugged. After all the frustration and finger-pointing at the tablet, the real culprit was the simple human mistake of not noticing the unplugged device. Technology is evolving faster than most of us can keep up with. For Frank and many seniors, there's often a bit of hesitation or confusion when dealing with new devices and systems. It's not that we don't want to learn, it's just that technology can be intimidating. And sometimes it feels like we're constantly playing catch-up. When something goes wrong, the natural instinct is to assume it's the device's fault, rather than recognizing it might be user error. This is a common situation for seniors. While we've lived through some of the most significant technological advancements, it's easy to feel lost when something doesn't work. We all have those moments where we try to figure out how a device works, only to end up more confused than before. Check the basics first. Before calling tech support, make sure everything is plugged in and turned on. It sounds simple, but it's often the root cause of many issues. Take your time. It's okay if you don't understand something right away. Ask for help when needed, and take the time to explore the device or app. Sometimes it just takes a little patience to figure things out. Embrace tech support. Don't hesitate to ask family members or friends for help. Frank's grandson Jake was more than happy to help him out. Plus, this gives you a chance to bond and learn something new together. What's the trickiest tech issue you've faced recently? Have you ever found yourself blaming the device when, in reality, it was just a simple mistake? Share your stories in the comments. We'd love to hear how you handle those tech challenges. But stick around because, next up, we're talking about a habit that could leave you feeling a bit embarrassed. And it's something we all do more often than we realize. Have you ever suddenly found yourself craving a food you used to hate? Or maybe you've developed a new love for something that you once couldn't stand. Frank experienced this firsthand when at 72 he discovered a surprising new favorite: pickles. For as long as Frank could remember, pickles were on his avoid-at-all-costs list. The sour, crunchy snack never appealed to him, but one day, out of nowhere, he reached for a jar of pickles from his pantry, hesitated for a moment and then took a bite. To his surprise, he loved it. He could hardly believe it himself. After 50 years of avoiding pickles, here he was happily munching away on them. Why does this happen? As we age, our taste buds change. We experience a decrease in the number of taste buds we have, and those that remain often become less sensitive to certain flavors. This can cause us to suddenly crave foods we never liked, or develop aversions to things we once loved. Frank's newfound love for pickles is a perfect example of this shift. This isn't just about food preferences, it's a natural part of aging. The body's sense of taste and smell both evolve over time, leading to these unpredictable changes in eating habits. You might find yourself enjoying a flavor you once disliked, or conversely turning away from a dish you used to adore. It's not strange, it's just biology at work. How to embrace these new habits? Stay open to new flavors. If you suddenly develop a craving for something you used to avoid, go with it. Your taste buds are changing, and that's completely normal. Try experimenting with new foods and flavors to see what else you might enjoy. Balance is key. While it's fun to embrace new foods, it's important to keep your diet balanced. Make sure you're eating a variety of healthy, nutritious foods. Pay attention to your body's signals. If you start craving a food you've never liked, it might be a sign your body needs something specific. Maybe your body is craving salt or a specific nutrient. Listen to those signals and adjust your diet accordingly. Have you noticed any surprising changes in your eating habits as you've gotten older? Share your experiences in the comments below. Let's talk about those unexpected cravings and food preferences. Stay tuned, because next we're diving into a common habit that many seniors face, but few like to admit. We've all had that moment, searching frantically for our glasses, only to realize they've been sitting right on top of our heads the entire time. It's almost like your mind plays tricks on you, and suddenly, the simplest things become a challenge. For Frank, this happens all the time. One morning, he was in his usual rush to head out the door looking for his keys. He checked every pocket, dug through his bag, and even searched the kitchen counters. After a few minutes of frustration, he thought, I must have left them in the car. But just as he was about to head outside, he paused and felt a tap on his shoulder. His keys were hanging on the hook right next to him, completely in sight the whole time. And then there are the glasses. Frank has become so accustomed to losing them, he almost feels like it's a part of his daily routine. He'll search everywhere for them, only to find they've been perched right on top of his head, hiding in plain sight. Why does this happen? As we age, memory and focus can naturally change, making it easier to forget where we've placed things. It's not a sign of something serious, it's just part of the aging process. We're balancing more thoughts, more experiences, and often more responsibilities, which means sometimes the simplest tasks, like remembering where we put our keys or glasses, get lost in the shuffle. This is actually pretty common, especially as we get older. Our brain's ability to retain short-term memory might slow down slightly, which is why we tend to misplace things more often. And as frustrating as it can be, it's important to remember that it's normal and it doesn't mean anything's wrong. How to handle it? Create a habit. Designate specific spots for your keys, glasses, and other important items. This could be a small tray by the door or a particular pocket in your bag. When you always return them to the same place, you're less likely to forget. Stay calm. If you lose something, take a deep breath. Stressing out will only make it harder to remember. Try retracing your steps, or simply take a moment to pause and think. Use technology. Consider using a key tracker or a smart tag for your glasses if losing them becomes a frequent problem. There are simple gadgets available to help you locate missing items with the touch of a button. Have you had one of those "where did I put my glasses" moments? We all go through it, so let us know how you handle the occasional slip-up in the comments. But wait till you hear about this next one. It confuses even the best of us. Stay tuned, eh? Have you ever found yourself getting into a heated debate with the TV or radio as if the host can actually hear you? It's not just a quirky habit, many of us do it. Frank, for example, loves to watch the news in the evenings. One night he was listening to a news anchor discussing the economy, and something about the way they presented the information really bothered him. Without thinking, Frank blurted out, "That's not true! You've got it all wrong!" He continued to argue with the screen, shaking his head and offering his own take on the situation, as though the anchor was actually listening to his correction. Frank isn't alone. Many seniors find themselves doing this, especially when they feel passionate about a topic. Whether it's a political debate, a sports game, or even a cooking show, it's easy to start talking back as if the host or presenter can hear you and respond. Why does this happen? This behavior is actually rooted in emotional investment. As we age, we often develop stronger opinions about the world around us, and with that comes a desire to engage. When we watch something on TV or listen to the radio, we may feel connected to the content, especially if it's a topic that holds personal significance. Our brains stay active, processing and analyzing information, which naturally leads to us commenting, correcting, or even arguing in response. It's a form of mental engagement, and it shows just how much we're still actively thinking about the world. It's also a way of feeling connected. By voicing our thoughts, even if it's to an inanimate object like a screen or speaker, we can release frustration or feel more involved in the conversation, especially when we're watching things like news or talk shows that present strong opinions. How to handle it? Embrace it. Talking back can be a fun and harmless way to engage with the world around you. It keeps your mind sharp and allows you to voice your thoughts in a low-stakes setting. Channel your energy. If you find yourself getting upset over something on TV, why not use that energy in a more productive way? Take it as a sign to get involved in discussions or debates with friends and family who might share your interests. Stay informed. The more you know about a topic, the more confident you'll feel when you have something to say. Don't hesitate to do a little research and stay up to date, so when you're talking back, it's with solid facts. Do you ever talk back to the TV or radio? Share your funniest moments or most passionate debates with us in the comments, and hold tight. Coming up is a quirky habit that many seniors experience, but it's not something you often hear people talk about. Stay tuned. Have you ever been told you're talking too loud or too soft? It's one of those funny quirks that comes with aging, and Frank knows it all too well. His wife Mary lovingly reminds him on a regular basis, "Frank, you're not at a rock concert. Lower your voice." It's not that Frank is intentionally trying to be louder than everyone else. It's just that his perception of volume has changed. At times, he can't even tell that he's talking much louder than he means to. Other times, he finds himself straining to hear his own voice and ends up speaking so quietly no one can hear him at all. It's a constant cycle of volume misjudgment that has become a running joke in their household. Why does this happen? As we age, changes in our hearing abilities affect how we perceive sound. It's common for seniors to experience hearing loss, which can make it harder to gauge volume. When you can't hear yourself as clearly, it's easy to either raise your voice too much to compensate or speak too softly without realizing it. The brain's ability to process sound changes as well, leading to distorted perceptions of how loud or quiet your voice really is. It's a harmless but often humorous shift that many seniors experience. How to handle it? Check your surroundings. If you find yourself speaking too loudly, try becoming more mindful of your environment. Are you in a noisy room? Adjusting your volume to match the surroundings will help maintain better communication. Ask for feedback. If you're unsure whether you're speaking too loudly or softly, ask someone close to you for feedback. Frank's wife, Mary, often offers gentle reminders, which helps Frank calibrate his voice accordingly. Use hearing aids. If hearing loss is the issue, consider getting hearing aids or visiting an audiologist. They can help improve your hearing and restore a more accurate perception of sound. Have people ever told you that you talk too loud or too soft? Drop a comment below and share your experiences. We'd love to hear how you've handled it. So, what have we learned today? These quirks, whether it's talking to the TV, misplacing your glasses, or overthinking your purchases, are not weird, they're just part of the journey of aging. As Frank's story shows, aging doesn't mean we lose our spark, but it does mean we get a little more unique in the process. And you know what? That's perfectly okay. We all have our moments where things don't quite go as planned, but they don't define us. These awkward habits are a natural part of getting older, and if you're experiencing them, you're in good company. You're not alone in this. Every one of us has those moments that make us laugh and shake our heads. It's part of living life to its fullest and embracing the wonderful, unpredictable ride that aging can be. If you related to any of these moments, don't worry, you're in good company. Aging may bring a few quirks, but it also brings wisdom, humor, and a deeper understanding of what really matters in life. If you found this relatable, hit the like button and share this with a friend who'd get a laugh out of it. After all, we could all use a little more laughter and a lot more understanding as we navigate this beautiful journey together.